Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Better Call Saul, Season 5, Episode 7. It's called JMM. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. In terms of Saul and Kim, they go and get married. It was kind of one of the things we suggested last week, which was they just go and get a license and just quickly get it done. No ceremony, no, not even any rings. They just go. In fact, Huel was very judgmental, I suppose is the word. He was kind of standing there being like, yes.
Yeah. And he may have offered to go and steal a ring.
Yeah, essentially, I mean, I don't know, is it pickpocketing when it's off a finger? I don't know, but like, yeah, essentially swipe a ring off a finger.
It'd be quite impressive.
And, they're just there to get it done, and like, they're both just very adamant about it, and it's just like, right as the signed documents, he's like, hey, you sure about this? Like, this is... And she kind of says, oh, this is just a legal agreement, just for so we don't have to testify against each other. That's all this is, right? And he's like, yeah, but this is not exactly what you imagined when you were 12, probably. And she's like, Jimmy, I mean, and just kind of implying, okay, we're grown-ups here, that's not...
Yeah.
But, of course, there is a moment when they're asked to kiss where a real genuine smile kind of breaks out on her face, and his too. There's kind of like a realization of what they're doing.
There's a moment just before that as well, for her specifically. When she's supposed to say "I do," she pauses.
A
little moment.
I had like a blanket over me. I pulled the blanket up to my face because I was like, "Oh my god, is she going to not see it? Is it? Because
no, it was the complete opposite. It was the look on her face. It was not a hesitation of not going to say it. It was the realization that she actually wanted to do this.
Yeah.
The legal thing. Yeah,
but it was even before her face started to do anything. There was this big long pause, and then the acting kind of kicked in.
Yeah.
But I was just like, this is going to be really awkward if she he's just said it, right? He's essentially went through the same thing, just quicker, where he's realized that he's saying this for real, and he says it and he means it, and then she takes a bit longer to say, like, is she going to swerve the other way? And he's going to feel like an idiot. He's going to feel like he's been dumped at the altar, essentially. Not a tradition, not really an altar, admittedly, but essentially, in practice. So, yeah. But no, the kiss. That's the opening to the episode. Full little acting beats here. And even when they leave the building afterwards, and they're like, I need to go, but I'll be home early. He's like, oh yeah, me too. Yeah, and they kind of go about their day, and it's because Saul's been dodging a call, and eventually he answers, and it's Nacho, and he's like, "Hey, I've been calling you." He's like, "Yeah, what was it? I was doing a thing." And he's like, "You've got a client waiting in the cell," and he says this name, and much like Jimmy, I'm like, "Who?" Right? And it cuts to Laylo, and I started laughing. I was like, oh, of course.
It was because before it cuts to Nacho, because I think you know who, and then it cuts to, and you just have just a second before it shows him that you kind of clock what it's going to be, and that almost makes it a bit funnier.
Yeah, but there's something to Saul being scared of his client, right? Because he's never really, because typically he deals with these like low life thugs, these like low time drug dealers or thieves or whoever.
Yeah.
He doesn't deal in murderers, and for good reason, because as we see throughout this episode, Saul actually does have a conscience, and he doesn't actually seem to feel comfortable trying to get this murderer off scot-free. He's not necessarily happy about it.
It's a case of he knows he almost certainly murdered the guy, and doesn't like that he's supposed to be just getting him off free. Whereas with the petty crime, he's like, whatever. Yeah, they'll do some community service. Yeah,
and there's that moment where it's Laylo and then the in the interrogation room, says, "Hey, what does the JMM mean?" And he's like, "Oh, that's my motto." And that was something that was teased a couple of episodes ago when when it was first that say, "Oh, how do you explain the case?"
I think it was like the first episode, wasn't it?
Was it the first? Yeah, whatever one it was. But and he's like, "Oh, I'll say it's my motto." Justice means more.
Justice matters most.
Or matters most. There you go. And Laylo kind of like says, "Hey, you get me bail," and Saul's trying to explain to him like, you murdered someone. There's a witness. You don't just get bail for that. And he's like, no, you do this. You're a friend of the cartel, and maybe JMM can stand for something a bit more suitable, like just more money.
And of course that works on him.
Does it?
I think it does to a bit. I think he doesn't like that it works on him, but there is part of him that's there going,
No, I
okay.
agree there's a male temptation, but I would disagree. I would not use the phrase "it works" at all. He's still terrified the entire time.
He's definitely terrified. I'm not saying it puts him at ease.
And more to my point is that when he eventually admits all this to Kim, which is kind of what we're getting to here, is he goes home, she sort of quickly tells how her day went. We'll get to that in a minute because it's kind of a separate, its own thing. Yeah. And when she says, "How was your day?" and you're like, "Oh, is he going to actually?" Because that's one of the things. Is the episode opens with them agreeing with each other, and specifically as far as he's concerned, where she says, "If there's something you're tempted not to tell me, then you definitely tell me." Right?
Yeah.
That's the rule going forward. And you're like, "Oh, is he going to tell her? Is he going to tell her?" And he just says, "I got married today," and they start kissing. They get to the bedroom, and their clothes are half off. They're in bed, and then he sort of.
It's one of the very rare times we see them actually being intimate.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of key here because this is maybe the most honestly intimate they've ever been, because he stops before he gets proper into it and says, "Look, no, there's something that I'm tempted not to tell you, therefore I should tell you." And she's like, "Okay, what was it?" And it doesn't say names or anything, just like, "Oh, I've got this new client, he murdered someone, he most definitely did it." And he made this offer. And he says this, and the key thing that really stuck out to me here is he says, and he says, "If I do this, I'll be a friend of the cartel," and he explains to Kim, and that means a lot of money. That means like we can get a ranch, we can do anything we want, kind of money. That's how kind of silly this is. And Kim, kind of nervous by what he's saying, says, "But do you want to be a friend of the cartel?" And Jimmy says, "No, of course not." And I honestly kind of believe him, mainly because of how scared he was in that scene. I don't think it's necessarily. It's not that he's not tempted by the money, because even as he's describing the money that they'd make to Kim, right? He's clearly, yes, the fantasy of that amount and what the life would be like is appealing to him. That part is appealing, but he is terrified of Lalo, and I think he doesn't want to, because every time Nacho's called him to be part of the job for the cartel, whether it's the Salamancas or whatever. He's always been itchy about it, been twitchy about it. Lalo's involvement, he petrifies him, and of course, it just gets worse for him in this episode, because then we have the other side kind of getting him involved as well.
I don't disagree with any of that. When I say it works for him, I don't think he's like, "Oh, I want to be a friend of the cartel." I don't think he's that. I think he wants a way to get that money without the guilty conscience. Essentially, he wants to try and convince himself that it's okay. And I think it's Kim here saying, "Do you want to be?" that prods him into being like, "No, I suppose not." For me, at least, anyway, that's it. It comes across more as he's trying to convince himself that he doesn't need the money. He doesn't want the baggage that comes with it.
I'm not sure what you're arguing here exactly, because I feel like, to me, that's just the thought process of him realizing that it's not worked on him. Like, that's the conclusion he's getting to because ultimately him bringing this up to Kim, I mean, obviously on one side it's, she said, "If there's anything you don't want to tell me, or you're tempted not to tell me, you tell me." But I also think, and this is part of what makes this scene so beautiful, and I can't believe they've pulled this off yet again. Every time they're at their worst possible place, they find a way to give them a new intimate sort of setting or conversation where it feels like they've grown closer than they ever have before. And him, and they're both literally, I mean, they're not completely naked, but they're both kind of halfway to being naked, so that's got the sort of the visual vulnerability kind of element to it, laying yourself bare. He literally lays this bare on the table, and I feel like him saying this to her, and just being as brutally honest. I mean, outside of giving names, which he doesn't really need to. There's not like there's not intentional hidden detail there. Outside of that, he tells her everything. He doesn't hold any of it back.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
This is the case. This is what, and which is, I think, even just as for us, the audience, we know this is the first time he's not held something like this back. He always kind of sugarcoats. He always phrases it in a way that kind of turns it and makes it sound a bit more appealing. This wasn't that. This was, here's what happened. This is what he did. This is what he wants me to do. And I told him it's impossible. Blah 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 blah. If I do it somehow, this is what he said he would do. Blah blah blah. I think in a way, he knows that Kim works as his barometer. That Kim's reaction to this, like, he knows he shouldn't do it. He knows he shouldn't be tempted. He knows all of this already. But I think Kim's response to it and Kim's reaction to it is kind of something that he's looking for. He's kind of like, this is part of what makes this scene so beautiful. It's not just that he's doing what she asked, it's that it actually feels like it bounces back at him in the right way, and it feels like he's making the right decision because they actually were open about it. And that's why it actually kind of hurts that ultimately he's kind of dragged into playing the game anyway because of then Mike and the other side sort of forcing him into it as well.
Because of course.
And it's like, and obviously we're not scared of Mike, we like Mike, but it's like, damn it, you're forcing Jimmy into this. And now, admittedly, he get involved with these people before. It's his fault that he even knows any of these people. But it's, you know, it makes it all the more tragic.
He kind of had a point where it was an out, where he could kind of leave Lalo to sit in jail through no fault of his own, right? You know, he could try, but there was no way he was winning that case. Like I said, at best, he could probably get down to manslaughter, which still, I'm sure, has jail time attached.
Yeah, and like you said, you know, you'll give it a fight, you know, for the show of it to make it look he's trying, but ultimately, of course, it's not going to work because of like the case is. And I do like the detail as well that the reason why he even has a chance of kind of fighting it is because Mike actually gives him all these extra details, like, you know, hey, there was a PI who kind of coerced the witness, for example, that detail, which is true, it did happen. So
the only bit of that that's not true is the PI part.
Oh, sure, yeah, the name, but, you know, from her perspective, that's what happened. So,
oh, absolutely, yeah.
So I like that. I like that part of it. So, this was kind of wonderful. So I liked how intimate this felt, and you know, when they continue to like have sex afterwards, when she says, "Oh, I'm glad you told me." Like, I think even though what he just said was kind of scary, and the fact that he was even kind of tempted is kind of scary, he was honest about it, and it felt honest, and she knew he was being honest. It didn't feel like he was holding back, and I think that was appealing to her. So. Really good. And that's really important because that comes after scene, obviously Kim's day, which we'll go back to now. It's Kim and Rich, they're at Kevin's, and they're basically just pleading to be kept on as the lawyers, apologizing, say it's their fault that this happened, yada yada yada. And he's like, yeah, you dropped the ball, Kim, and yeah, and it leaves it in a very awkward place. And just before she walks out, Kevin says something to the effect of, hey, this Saul Jimmy guy, I mean, just, you know, you can do better, Kim. And you know, and her face as she walks out, and it's actually like 5 times as funny as it would be because she literally just came from getting married to him.
Yeah. But that's the moment where, up until that point, her and Rich, they're just going to leave it and see how it goes. And, you know, just, yeah, whatever happens, happens. As soon as he says that, she's like, nope, I'm not leaving it like this.
Yeah, obviously he's out in the hall with Rich, but then she's like, look, if we leave this now, what happens? And Rich is like, well, you know, let him stew for a little bit, there's maybe nothing we can do. He's willing to accept kind of that they might lose this client, that he's clearly not willing to fight it that much. And, you know, obviously we know she dropped the ball. Kevin suspects that he dropped the ball. But Kim walks back in, and it's a bit cheeky because we know that she was doing some stuff that she shouldn't have been doing. There was some morally interesting decisions, but technically... everything she says Kevin was at fault for when she storms back in and says, look, we advised you to pick a different site, and then in the meeting yesterday when Saul started doing his thing, I advised you to leave the room the second it became clear that the opposition was playing with dirty tactics, and every time you did not listen to us, and we're here to advise you, but ultimately you're always going to be the one who makes the choices, and if you don't listen to us, there's not really much we can do. And I'm like, this is some good lawyer speak because she's winning this argument. There's like nothing you can argue there.
She's not wrong. And she leaves it in a way where she says, I hope, you know, whoever you end up working with, you'll listen to them. And, you know, leaving it in a way where, hey, if you don't take us, that's fine. You know, not my problem. But, you know, you've got some things to think about. Whereas this is, you know, calling him on his shit and being like, hey, you know, you should probably listen and you should... You need someone who's going to, you know, be blunt with you. Essentially, is kind of the tactic here, and you know, it works.
Yeah, my favorite part of this is that Paige kind of tries to stick up for her in the first part of this. You know, when Kim's just sitting there like taking the defeat and like, you know, groveling, and then when they leave at the end, and you know, Kevin says, "All right, I'll see you Thursday." You know, basically admitting, "Okay, fine, we're keeping you on because clearly there's no point in, you know, moving. You've impressed me." Like the look in Paige's face as they leave.
She's like, what just happened?
Yeah. Well, she's got this little smirk in her face. She's like proud of her. She's like proud that they like fought back at him. So it's really good. But anyway, so yeah, so she's kind of feeling pretty good. Saul's been more honest with her. You know, when they're up for breakfast the next morning, she's happy to see him, and she leaves the apartment. He's in his underwear and he's making some, I don't know, smoothies or something. He's got some oranges. He's got the juicer out. He's doing stuff, and Mike shows up. Saul tries to play the trick on Mike that Mike did, where he's pretending he's in a tunnel because Mike just basically ignored him on the phone last time.
It was pretty funny though, because as soon as you hear the door,
use him, yeah,
you know exactly what's going on. You just know that this is coming, and he doesn't suspect it at all, which just makes it a little bit funnier. And then, of course, he barges in.
Yep, and gives him all the information he needs. And Saul doesn't want to do any of this, of course, but he's kind of stuck in between now. And of course, the reason why Mike's doing this is because Laylo's not laying off, no pun intended. Even though he's in prison, he's still ordering Natural to burn down La Polis Hermanos. He's still ordering things. He's still being a nuisance. He's still causing problems. So basically, so we see Gus at some sort of convention for all these fast food places, right?
I assume this is the company that owns them all.
Yeah, the parent company, yeah. And obviously the head of this company is also in cahoots with Fring. He's he's embezzling the money and whatnot.
Yeah.
But let me see that when he's in the hotel later, and there's a lot of great acting from Gus Man here. The way he Gus Man, yeah. I forgot the actor's name, alright. But like, there's all these great little moments where, like, when the what you call it, the useless people at hotels who want a tip for just carrying your bags.
Porters.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I think I was thinking of bellboy rather than porter, but yeah.
I mean, interchangeable.
Yeah. But so he's standing around waiting for his tip, and Gus shows him away. He's nice to him. He's friendly businessman Gus, right? But as soon as the door shuts, I should actually mention, I like the little touch where he didn't even let him go and then open the door again to put the do not disturb on it. He cut the door and put the do not disturb. Little touch. I like that. Yeah. A little detail. But his face changes immediately, and then when we get the conjoined rooms and we see Lydia, who Joe's funny because I don't know when I discovered she was from Scotland, but I keep paying attention to her accent now whenever she's there, and I'm like, I can't tell, so she's doing a good job.
I did not know, but I can't tell.
Yeah.
So fair enough. I mean, there are a lot of Scottish actors who you can't tell.
Absolutely.
If they're good enough, and same with a lot of English actors as well. In terms of doing American accents.
Yeah, but then there's people like John Hannah. So
this is questionable at best.
Yeah, because she's specifically from Glasgow, so she's got a very similar accent to me, presumably. So.
No, yeah, I would have thought so.
But anyway, but there's a little moment where after he sees her, and it's kind of like he's honest with her, like he puts on this, he just keeps his face for her, right? And then it's when he goes through the room to meet the old guy, the head of the big company, that he sort of like sighs for a second and then puts on his happy face. He puts on his, like, I'm going to do
business face.
Happy business face, right? And this old guy's like ready to back out. He's getting scared of all the he's going to get caught, that the auditors are going to catch him. And Gus has to like sort of convince him as a friend, like he's putting on this like, we're old friends kind of thing, but this is clearly a calculated move. It's a calculated tactic to keep him doing what he's supposed to do, as opposed to someone who's actually equal or someone who's actually a partner. But yeah, so they're still worried about Laylo. So Mike comes to see Natural. Natural's okay, he's out of the picture, help me with my dad. But of course he's like, well, he's ordering you to burn down a place still, so he's not really out of the picture then, is he? Like, we still have to deal with him. But one of the things Lydia brings up, she's like, can't he be, people die in prison, can't he be shanked or shivved or whatnot? I like that phrasing. That phrasing really cracked me up.
Yeah, it was.
And he's like, well, no, it'll lead back to me and that'll start a war, and we're not in a position to be at war with the Salamancas, not yet. Like, we're not there. So now Mike has to get him out of jail again, so they can maybe do something to him outside.
Yeah, it's complicated.
Very complicated. But it all makes sense. None of it feels like convoluted or forced as you're watching it.
No, it's complicated in the sense that there's a lot of moving pieces as to why this has got to do that, and there's a lot of intersecting parts from the different plots. But It all works, it all fits. You're not questioning any of it.
Yeah. And actually, one of my favorite things about the actual kind of like, because I was kind of questioning because there's a couple of moments in the scene where Gus just kind of zones out. It's when Lydia's pouring out the champagne or whatever, and later on we see like naturally break into the restaurant and he's going in, and I love the reveal that like 2 seconds behind him is Gus. Like Gus is there with him. Like he's like, I'm going to help with this. I'm going to supervise with this, because obviously up until now every time it's like, oh, Lalo's wanted something. Well, in that case, we're going to go through with it because otherwise he'll know there's a snitch. He'll know there's like a mole. So I was like, are they going to go through with this, or is this where he draws the line and tries to sort of find out, wriggle his way out of it somehow? But no,
he sacrifices a store. Obviously, he makes sure there's no one in it, and presumably gets all the cash off the premises. Small
details again that I loved. He was still checking how clean the fryer was, even though he was about to blow it up.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, his method for the explosion, I thought it was really elaborate.
Artistic.
It was very much, I mean, as far as timers for an explosion go, that was very unique. Oh.
It was, but I mean, if you're going to blow up a chicken place...
Use a chicken.
It just stands to reason, right?
I mean, I suppose the tactic is that it looks like a frying accident as opposed to, like, arson in the traditional sense, because it is just the fryer and the chicken, and like it's all things that would be on the premises anyway, right?
It is, but obviously Nacho's there smashing up the front first, which makes
that's true. Yeah, he spray paints.
Yeah, that kind of prevents the accidental look, surely.
Well, yeah, but what if the argument? Yeah, I suppose. I was thinking, what if the whole point is that Nacho is supposed to have made it look like an accident? Admittedly, why he'd still be spray painting and like wrecking the front? I mean, how visible will that be though once it's blown up? Though, this is a good question that I also have.
Then why bother doing it at all?
That is also a good question. Maybe the idea is that to the police it'll look like an accident, but with Nacho has to prove it.
Message to Gus.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. We'll see how they play that next episode, but
yeah.
But it was really well done. I liked how it was very quiet. There was not a line of dialogue between them. It was just
the music.
Nacho's doing his thing. Gus is going around in the back setting up the fryer. So I like that stuff. It was funny actually because it cut to Nacho. He's out in the front and he's smashing things and he's pulling things over and cutting into the chairs, and it cuts to Gus walking out of the freezer and just calmly picking up a chicken. I was like, what's Gus doing? Why does he get a chicken?
Gus has been so meticulous.
Yes.
And Nacho's just letting off some steam, basically.
Yes. So that was that, and then of course Saul's big stuff really comes when he's in court. He's arguing with the judge and with the prosecution about why Lalo should be, and they've got this like fake family and I loved how it did this with a little sense of humor, where before the thing starts, before the hearing starts, Lalo sort of looks around at this family that are sitting on the back and says, "Is that them?" Like, so 2 minutes later when Saul's like pleading, like, he's got a family, he's engaged to this woman, like it's extra funny to us because of the way they've revealed that he doesn't even know them.
I think it's interesting that Saul does that, because obviously he's like, oh, I'll put on a show, and in the end he has to actually go through with it. But the stuff which he does by discrediting the witness is all really legit stuff. He may have acquired the information through shadier means potentially, but the actual facts are true. It's just then this is just complete bullshit made up, classic Saul tactics.
Yeah, I don't think it matters to him that they're true, though. I think his guilt is like, because he looks around at the family, right? Because this is the thing, like Lalo doesn't even care. In fact, when Lalo says, "Who are they?" he says, "Oh, that'll be his family," and Lalo's like, "Huh? The man who died, his family." It's like, "Oh yeah," it's just kind of like so. But he keeps looking around at this family and they're weeping, and they're here to hopefully get some semblance of justice for their loved one. And the entire time, like I was like, because we know that Saul's afraid of Lalo, right? That's the one tease of Lalo in Breaking Bad, which I love that they've taken that one moment where he says that name and they're building this insane backstory to it.
It's pretty elaborate for what was at the time a throwaway line.
Yeah, but they're really selling it, and there's that moment afterwards where they've got bail and Saul's like $7 million. Oh well, I guess that didn't work, and Lalo's like, oh yeah, we can do that. I need you to pick it up for me though. He's like, wait, what?
Yeah, I'm so curious as to what the reaction would be from like the judge here. Is how does this regular family man acquire $7 million? Does that get questioned?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Maybe they'll say because
I don't know. Are they allowed to question the bail money? Like, or is it like, no, you pay bail, fair enough, you do you?
he owns a business in Mexico. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know enough about how it works.
A very successful business at that, man.
It just seems extremely suspicious, right?
No, it is.
7 million to this guy who you've just gone, look, he's just a regular dude with a family. To go, here's 7 million.
Yeah. I don't know. But there's that wonderful shot afterwards where he's watching the family, feeling guilty as shit. And it does make me think, is Saul going to do something at some point here? Kind of like how Kim did for the guy living in the house. Like, is Saul going to make a call here where he somehow, like, basically takes a fall, right? Takes a dive, for the purpose of helping this family get justice. And how scary is it if it's like questioned? Like, if Laylo notices that he's maybe doing something intentional, or if someone else notices.
If in some ways he does end up leaving Laylo in jail, because that was the line in Breaking Bad is did Laylo send you, or whatever it was something along those lines. And so clearly Laylo wants to get back at him for something. And
and that doesn't necessarily mean that Laylo will still be alive at the end of this. It just means that Saul doesn't know he's dead. If that just in case you're thinking he's definitely dead, or he's definitely alive rather, it's possible that he could somehow meet his fate, but Saul just doesn't know about it, and that's why he can still say that line.
Possible, I would say less likely, but still, not ruling it out.
The reason why I say that is not because of Saul, it's because of just how, however the Gus Mike side of that plot and Natural are going to end. I feel like there's a good chance he still might die by the end of this show.
Oh yeah, and that's why I say potentially maybe he does get left in jail again, because obviously we know Hector comes back out and is running things again, essentially by the time we get to Breaking Bad. Yeah.
But equally, him being dead would also
that would solve that problem as well. Yeah.
So he's definitely not in the picture. I mean, that's the key thing, yes. One way or the other. But of course, who shows up? But poor Hamlin, who has been very savvy, and actually, when Jimmy kind of tries to dodge the question of the employment again, the job offer, Hamlin outright says, I offer you this job, and all of a sudden I get bowling balls thrown at my car. Prostitutes, shop at my business lunch. What's going on? I've offended you, so I'll take the offer away to make this okay. And again, he's not even being angry. He's not, because this is the thing. Like, and he'd be justified. He'd be justified giving him a bit of trouble here, and he doesn't. He just says, "I'm withdrawing. I'm going to walk away." And Saul's reaction, yeah, well, he's so offended at the idea that Hamlin thinks he's doing something for him by rescinding the offer, right? Because before it was like he has the cheek of offering me this job, and now it's like he thinks he's pitying me by taking it away because it's hurt my feelings.
He doesn't even have the satisfaction of declining anymore.
Yeah. So he has to yell at him, "I don't want your job because it's beneath me. It's too small. I'm bigger than that." And if there's anything in this episode that would maybe make me think that maybe he does want to try and become a friend of the cartel to make himself feel bigger, it's maybe this moment. I'm not convinced it is, but if there was anything that you could argue might lead to that decision, it would be this moment.
Yeah, definitely.
So
he really goes off in a very unexpected way. In like even the reactions he's been having to Hamlin now and the stuff that he's been doing has been, vindictive. This went beyond like that in a way that this was an actual confrontation with him, and it felt so petty the way he was shouting, and very un-Jimmy like, and it would definitely, this is him kind of getting to his lowest stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's combined with guilt as well. I think the fact of what he just did, as well, like it's like what he's now involved in, which I think makes him feel small in and of itself. So then to have Hamlin have this this interaction with him, it kind of compounds it. It's both of these like problems right now kind of smashing together into one concoction.
I wonder if part of the reason why he hadn't just declined the job, I said there he hasn't got the satisfaction of that anymore, but is maybe there was an out there. Is it he could get out and have a legitimate law career at any point here. He can just say, "Yeah, I'll take the job," and there it is. He can still get out of this and go down that route.
Yeah.
Whereas this now, that choice has kind of been taken off the table, and he is stuck with the with the cartel.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, I do think ultimately we do have to have the Jimmy is kind of at fault by making a choice at some point. It can't just be that now he kind of like is trapped into it and there's no going back, because I don't think that would be as satisfying as a journey.
It would be interesting still, because we've had every time he's made a choice, it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And we had that moment at the end of the last season where that's it. He kind of made that choice to go all in on the scummy lawyer side of things. And while that wasn't at that point wasn't going, oh, I'm going to go and represent the cartel, it was like, he's kind of, that's it. There's no coming back now. So now, if he doesn't get a choice to get out of this, and he doesn't make a choice to go further in, it still works for me, because he's kind of made this bed, and now this is it. Tough shit. This is what he's stuck with.
Yeah, this is why you don't do the smaller stuff, because at least the bigger stuff kind of thing.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, having said that, one of the things I said a couple of minutes ago was the idea that he might sort of take a dive to help this family, and I do wonder, like, is there a path here where the big choice that he makes at some point that kind of leads to his sort of Kimless life, his Breaking Bad life? What if we were assuming it's a bad choice when it's actually a good? What if he essentially takes a sort of sacrificial hit to either save Kim from something, whether it would just be her career or literally her if she's ever threatened, or just something like this where he does the right thing to save someone who's innocent that they want him to prosecute against, and it kind of basically ensures that he's forever going to be in that world or something. I don't know, like something where we actually have more of an uplifting ending. It's still tragic, of course, because we know where his story leads, but something's a bit more uplifting in the sense that, and I don't necessarily expect that, because I feel like there's still story to have in the black and white segment, and I feel like the final atonement, if there's going to be atonement, has to be there. But part of me is thinking, well, what if we've had it all sorted out the whole time, where, oh, it's all a tragedy, and it's all about him, fumbling down the stairs and making the wrong choices. Like, what if there is actually a good choice where he accepts the sacrifice that he's making to be in the life that he's in, to save or help someone else? Like,
I can see that possibly, yeah. And then the idea that all the scummy stuff he does after that is more just, well, he leans into it because he's there now, and there's nothing he can do about it.
Yeah, it's kind of like he's part of that world now. He still likes money. It's still part of who he is. It's not like he's completely just faking it, but I think one thing this show has shown is that maybe Breaking Bad never did to any great extent is that he does have a heart, and that he does have morals, and there is a conscience in there.
Undoubtedly, yeah.
So I'll be very curious to see how they develop that as we go into the end game, because this is the penultimate season. We're getting very late in the story now. The final act is upon us, as it were. So.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm already annoyed at how long we're going to have to wait for the final season, because you just know it's going to be like 2 years now.
Yeah, on the upside is that the timeline where they're at just now, they'd probably just be writing anyway, and people can still write right now.
I mean, they can. There's no get around that.
The writer's room. You can have a writer's room on Skype, right?
A writer's Zoom, if you will.
Yes, a writer's Zoom. You can still do that right now, and because production wouldn't happen until sometime next year anyway. So
no, it's true.
It may be fine.
I mean, this season just took a long time anyway.
I mean, assuming there's no delays from what's going on right now, and that's a big assumption, admittedly, but I would have expected the next season to be sometime in the summer next year, based on the cycle of it being a year and a bit.
Normally, yes. I think this one was a bit longer, so it might be more like late next year.
Are you telling me you're worried we're not going to see it till 2022? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying it's a possibility. I'm just trying to see how long it was between these last, because maybe I'm misremembering how long it actually was, but it
was a bit longer, but the last one was quite late in the year. It was like, I think it ended like October or something like that, maybe November.
Season 4 ended at the start of October.
There you go.
Obviously, we started this February, so that's a good year and a half. Yeah. start of October, end of February. Yeah, that's pretty much a year and a half.
Year and a third. So you're in 4 months.
What? No, it's 5 months. Because all of October, November, December, January, and pretty much all of February.
But what day did we start this in February?
It was like right at the end, I'm sure. It was the 23rd.
All right, 4.5 months.
Fine. I'm rounding.
No, it's closer to what the gap was before than it was 2 years.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying it's going to be 2 years. I'm saying I think late next year rather than summer. I think summer might be just...
Well, I'm not saying summer now. I'm saying I would have expected summer without the current world's crisis. Now all bets are off.
Yeah. Maybe next October.
Oh well, that's this episode of Better Call Saul. Lots of good stuff. Not quite the slobber knocker of last week's episode, but really good.
I think it's interesting that, you know, we've just spent however long we've been here praising this episode, right? You know, about half an hour or so. And I would say this is possibly my least favorite episode of the season.
Oh, aye.
But I mean, it's a pretty high bar. You know, like, I'm not knocking on this episode.
Yeah, I don't know. The only thing we didn't mention was that Mike and the granddaughter are, you know, on good terms again.
Yes,
he's reading their bedtime stories, they're playing hide and seek.
And he's basically just he's able to talk about, you know, his son again. And
yeah, because it's just having the daughter-in-law start sharing stories about you know, Matty as a kid and what he was like. He didn't like Santa Claus. He tried every year to like Santa Claus, but he always got scared when he was sitting in his lap. So some fun stuff.
It's good to see. You know, he's worked through his stuff, and he's, you know, even if it is as terrible as he's working for Gus again, it's given him something to do, purpose, and he's...
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think purpose is a big part of why he's feeling better. Yeah,
and now he's able to kind of process things again. Maybe he's not just dwelling on things.
So there you go. Let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and the channel and everything we do here, you can head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv and support us for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses for your trouble and help us out and keep all the content coming. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?